Everyday chat and chart live during the New York session. Here, real traders share the raw truth, their mindset, technical analysis, and execution. This is where real traders show their skill set. Welcome to Tradin TV. This is your stage.
Hey, Mathe, what's going on, man?
Hello.
How are we doing?
All good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm great. Yeah, that's good to
So,
hear. I see you have you're back at home with the
yeah, I'm back
setup.
at home. I was traveling, basically traveling like the last 3 weeks, so my
Yeah.
routine's kind of thrown off. Traveling
Yeah.
for a little bit of business and leisure, so
Okay. Hope you enjoyed.
it was nice, yeah. Trying to enjoy the last bits of summer, you know?
Yes, fair.
How's your trading week been?
That's pretty much it. I think it wasn't great, wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
I think I had a pretty rough start, but we recovered quite nicely. I think I had a pretty bad Tuesday. But every other day was okay. So it's not like I'm down anything, but it's also not like I made massive progress.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
neither. I mean, I think I'm down 0.25R right now. I was in a long on Euro on Monday. It was up 1R, but usually when I'm up 1R, I don't tend to do anything with my trades. Came all the way back, stopped me out at a very small loss. I adjusted my stop. And then unfortunately, yesterday, I was anticipating that we were going to kind of chop around. So if I share my screen real quick, a chart. Somebody, please help me out here. Should be an admin. I was trying to get long on the euro, and unfortunately, it made that move overnight today, which I tend not to trade ahead of NFP. I don't know about you. I tend not to try and position myself ahead of NFP. So really, for me, the markets have been very odd in the fact that the timing for me is a little bit off, right? So I tend to trade New York session, and I anticipate based on the calendar when these markets are going to make their moves. Sometimes they're making their moves in the PM session after news is already out. It's making moves on days that I'm not expecting it to, like, you know, right before NFP. And it's been, I would say, over the last couple months, it's been difficult to time markets. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm just feeling a little bit burnt out from earlier this year. But I did make a tweet yesterday that a lot of my trading comes, you know, in waves. So there will be some months where I'm really outperforming, where it feels like I can't lose on any trades, you know, 60, 70, 80% win rates. And then there's some months where I'm operating at like 30, 40% win rates, and I'm not taking a whole lot of trades. And that feels like the period that I'm going through right now.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
And especially with the mistiming, I'd also think it's been kind of strange, even if you just look at yesterday's price action, for example, the major move. And yeah, it's been a lot of late nights. So I think a lot of moves have been happening when I'm already, when it's 8 p.m. here. So when I'm already out of the markets. So yeah, I do feel kind of similar.
Right.
But in weeks like these, I also think it's just about being able to not lose too much. And I have been able to do that. So
yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is having the ability to keep the equity curve at least somewhat flat instead of trying to push all the time. Because when you go through those periods, if you don't know how to slow down a little bit, you might find yourself over trading. You might find yourself expecting really large moves in the market, and it can be very difficult, right? So sometimes we have to just lower our expectations of what we're going to see in the market. So what is your take, I guess, leading into NFP? I see that ES, we've, you know, breached the all-time high, which, you know, I would say trying to go long here, you'd be, you know, accepting that risk. But me, after taking out all-time highs and being so close to range highs on NQ, Like if I just draw out this current range that we're in right now, we're so close to that high right now that the risk toward to the upside is just not there. So maybe we see somewhat of a pullback, maybe into yesterday's range, back towards the weekly open. I guess we'll wait and see. That's kind of my take.
Yeah, I went in for a quick scalp long this morning on NQ, and so it was I expected it to be done very quickly. I only aimed for 30 points, but I still was in it for for a couple hours. But now for NFP specifically, I don't really know what's going to happen. So I prefer to just, in cases like these, to just let it play out and then play from the price action that it makes and what comes after it, rather than now getting in a buy or sell.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I tend to have this protocol with NFP where I tend to wait at least 15 minutes minimum. Sometimes half an hour, sometimes even an hour before I try and get in the market. Because a lot of times, that first half hour after NFP can be very volatile. We're not sure, where the market's going to print. To me, it's a gamble. So I like to wait for the price action to kind of normalize a little bit before thinking about taking any positions.
Yeah, I always wait at least 15 minutes, and it's just a habit that's gotten into me because of all the prop trading. Because with some of the prop firms, there's like this 15-minute window where you can take a trade 15 minutes before or after, and so
Right.
I've just kind of internalized that, and now I never trade within 50 minutes, and after I come back and I see if there's something there for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we'll wait and see where NFP is going. I had the idea on Euro, so I didn't have my chart pulled up earlier, but we did trade down to range lows, and we've really just been stuck in this consolidation here. But I do expect the Euro to just continue higher, at least from the quarterly time frame. So if I look at the dollar index, a lot of this really is just one leg lower. So we have, this consolidation. We kind of faked out above that range here, and then we broke below it. So here, the quarterly time frame for me is really just a retest of this old low, and I am expecting us to maybe get down all the way below 90s on the dollar. Now, that really, it honestly should send index markets higher long term. I mean, last quarter was extreme. It closed extremely bullish, so I don't really anticipate index markets slowing down whatsoever, unless we see something that changes massively. Right now, the monthly already opened up, put in a pretty strong wick to the downside, and we're getting that move higher. So maybe we start tracking towards the all-time highs on NQ again. That's really my anticipation, especially if this weekly candle closes like this. Then next week should definitely be leaning long again, at least from the higher time frame perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also, but I'm always a bull, almost always a bull.
Likewise.
And
Likewise.
I think there's not much reason to not be one now, on the higher time frames at least.
Right.
Yeah, so agreed. And then now for me, it's just a matter of being patient enough with the entries, letting it come to you, and then just hopefully get in at a decent price and ride it up. That's the goal.
So I mean, we are really trading at a premium right now on the 4-hour time frame at least. So maybe we wait for a pullback all the way to like 23.6 before looking long again. I'm really not sure. I guess we'll kind of play it by ear, but the way that the 4 hours pushing right now, I think any longs would definitely be more dangerous than typical.
And it would be a great opportunity it would be nice if the NFP came out bearish and we just got this retracement into what is it exactly? The zone there around 23,500, and then if we see something nice there, hopefully, then I would be looking to long it Monday, Tuesday, and so that would be nice to see, but obviously
Yeah, we're far
we
away
might
from that
not
right
get it.
now, right?
Yeah,
It's far
yeah,
away.
we'll
It would
see
have
with
to really drop pretty hard.
yeah, but that's my that's what I would hope happens. But obviously, what I hope doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So I do like the run that we've had above London session highs here. But obviously we don't have any market structure shift lower.
Yeah, I wouldn't really look for sells right now. Mm.
We do have a lot of liquidity built up, so that
Yeah.
I think we could probably flush lower, and then maybe in the PM session find an opportunity to position ourselves long. I mean,
Mm.
Euro is kind of already pushing, and this is not what I like to see ahead of NFP. You know, if this candle here was NFP, I would definitely, like, let's say if this candle closed at 9 a.m., this would be an opportunity to go long, for me at least. We have a bit of a range retracement, so if I drew out this range here, right, retracing down into 50% of that range, and then we're getting a nice expansion higher. But yeah, overall, do you trade gold at all or no?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I prefer NQ, but I do also trade gold, and I've just been bullish on that for the last couple of weeks. So that
Mhm.
has played out very well
Yeah,
for
so we
me
had
so far.
all this liquidity here, traded down. I mean, it obviously broke out of the range. So the fact that we took out this high, kind of waiting again, just like NQ, waiting for that pullback before maybe engaging. But I typically don't trade gold.
Yeah, I like to trade it every now and then. If something's obvious or if there's a certain firm that has way better conditions for gold or something like that, because that's how I used to figure out which pairs to trade. I just looked at some firms, they offer really great spreads on, because I used to be an EU GU trader, but with the CFD firms, I started noticing the slippage was getting very crazy at some point. So that's actually my main reason for switching to NQ and gold, because I think the spreads were way more reasonable. And then once I made the shift, I was very happy, and it worked even better for me. But yeah, I like to look at the firm specifically and then kind of pick one of the instruments I trade for that firm. That's how I like to look at things. So on certain firms, I do trade gold.
So YM could be, I don't know if you trade the Dow at all, but I know YM's kind of been lagging behind ES and NQ. I'm still overall bullish on the Dow. So based on the daily time frame, this could be setting up pretty nicely if NFP kind of puts in somewhat of a bottom on the daily. But obviously, we have to wait for something to show us that the market is going to turn bullish after NFP, because right now we're just kind of retracing.
Yeah, but it is interesting. You're right. It's way closer to a point where I'd consider buying again than the NQ is. But I haven't traded US 30 in a long time.
All right.
Mm.
See if anybody has any questions or comments. Yeah, somebody got taken out of break even on Euro longs. And that's kind of, for me, it's a bit of the timing, because I was expecting bullishness on the Euro pretty much all week. But, Thursday and Wednesday were really just sideways. And then obviously today, it's already expanded higher. So this was the move I was looking for yesterday and on Tuesday. Wednesday and Tuesday. But we obviously did not get that. I mean, overall, this market structure seems bullish to me still, but we need to get out of this range consolidation. So maybe we, at some point, hopefully get above these highs, maybe retest, and then aim for these highs here. So that's kind of what I see. I don't know if you want to share your chart real quick. We can go over what you're looking at. Maybe be looking at the same thing, but
Yeah, sure. I can share my chart.
he's asking what will happen in news. Nobody really knows.
Afraid not. Okay, is that working?
Yep.
Okay. So for me on the higher time frame, it's pretty much still the same as last week, where we have, however you want to define it, we have this low, this high, and then once again, I'm expecting something of a retracement, same as I said last week, and to then push higher. And so on the higher time frame, I'm bullish. Fundamentally, I'm also bullish. We also talked about that last week. Not much changed, and I think in general on NQ, on gold, on indices and gold in general, you should be bullish until proven bearish. So I think that's a nice, way to think about it. Then I usually like to trade out of accumulations, out of points that broke structure. So for example, I think when we look at this high, and this is what broke it. So I was looking for buys, and this was around last week, right? So I was looking for buys around here. And if something came, but nothing really came. And now I'm just in this, on the 4 hour, I'm in a bit of a waiting game. I was expecting this was looking like a distribution reaccumulation. I wasn't sure yet. Now that we have broken the high here, I would consider buying again, probably. And this is just the same. If we look at what broke this high, then it's pretty much the accumulation here. So this thing. And that's where I would be looking for these medium long-term buys. Now would probably be once we get into this zone. That's what I would like to see, to say so. If we could retrace back to here, then buy it back up. But obviously, I'm not really sure if we will get there, and maybe we'll just fly higher. So that's also why I like to take some, just some small scalps on some of the accounts. So for example, earlier today, when we broke this high, that kind of confirmed some bullishness for me. So now we are bullish on the 4 hours, bullish on the 15 minutes. And so then I just went to the 1 minute, did kind of the same thing. Did kind of the same thing where we broke the high here. And so we broke it here. Then I was looking for a retracement, and preferably into what looks like a small accumulation here. Then once we got this one, I was looking here. I saw this reaction, and I saw us create some kind of accumulation. So this was the one trade I took earlier today. I did kind of misexecuted it because at first I accidentally pressed sell, but I was able to rectify it pretty quickly. But I think it was something like this, like a very small, maybe something like this. So not a lot of points, just a small little scalp to make some of the money for the consistency rules. That's pretty much what I was in today, what I was looking at today. But now I really don't feel comfortable scalping this close to NFP. So I always like to be out of these before NFP, especially since the accounts which I traded it on. So it was these FundingPips accounts. And as you can see, they are up a little over 2K. And if I trade accounts during very high volatile times, I like it to be accounts that don't have a lot to lose and can win a lot. So kind of the opposite of these ones. And since these are the ones I'm currently focusing on, that's also one more reason why I'm just not really looking to take any trades before NFP. Because I have on this account, so to say, I have 2.2K to lose and only $300 or $500 to win. And so that's just not a good time to be in very volatile markets. And so that's kind of my outlook for today. And now for me, it just comes down to waiting on the NFP, seeing what that brings. I would like to see us go down, but if we go up, then I might also be looking for some retracements and to just scalp a few more points and get these accounts over with. So that's pretty much what I'll be doing. I'll just be waiting, seeing what NFP brings. I won't trade NFP because I'm not sure, and these accounts are not in a good spot, I feel, to trade NFP. And then hopefully after we'll be able to catch some of the rapid movements and just make like 20, 30 points and get these accounts over the line. That's what I'm looking at for today. I've been taking constant break-even trades the past 4 weeks, and half of the trades would then eventually go to my target. How do I deal with staying sane through all these setbacks?
You just got to keep trading, to be honest. Sometimes it's your stop loss placement, but also sometimes it's just the market conditions where if you're stuck in those accumulation or distribution phases. I mentioned this to my private group. Sometimes the best trades that you're going to take are when the markets are sideways, right? Because you're not trying to really position yourself when the markets are expanding in one direction. So a lot of times you're trying to wait for those opportunities where the markets are somewhat sideways, where you can position yourself anticipating that a market's going to start moving one way or the other. Because when the markets are sideways, you get in tighter stop losses. The risks rewards are much greater, rather than when markets are pushing strongly in one direction already. You've kind of already missed the opportunity to position yourself. So a lot of times when you're taking those break-even trades, you have to just continuously stick with your process and your strategy, which for me, it's been the last like 3 weeks. The markets for me are in a very wide range. You kind of have to pick and choose your spots. But again, these markets are moving at times where oftentimes I'm not expecting them to.
Might also just be worth testing if you do move your stop losses too quickly, if you should move them in the first place. But I assume you have the data to back that up. But if you don't, it might be interesting to just go through all your backtesting data and see if the current plan is even optimal, especially if it happens a lot over a long period of time. Might be worth at least testing.
Yeah, like for me, I tend not to move my stop to break even unless I'm up 2R or even 1R, but the market structure has to make sense for me to move my stop. So it needs to, price action obviously needs to confirm that with new swing lows or new swing highs. So let's say if I'm long, I need to see the market continuously putting in new swing lows. So let's say if I went long here on the euro, and ES. If I went long here and all of a sudden it pushed higher and it's creating this large displacement, well, I'm not necessarily jamming my stop loss up because I don't see that new swing low being printed yet. I wouldn't move my stop until we probably got price action like this. We have another leg higher, then I can obviously move my stop here. But if you're just moving your stop loss just to move your stop loss without any rhyme or reason behind it, that oftentimes will lead to you stopping out of trades.
Mm-hmm. We got 5
So
more minutes.
yeah, trade management for me is it's one of the higher ceiling skill sets to understand and learn, because my trade management changes on almost every trade. Every trade for me is a little bit different. So a lot of it is discretionary. Yes, you can have like a mechanical way of managing your trades, but I've just never done that. Obviously, that comes from data and it comes from you backtesting your system. It also comes with your personality type.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've always done much better being way more patient in my trades before moving my stops to break even.
Same. I used to move them to break even a lot, but just by looking at the data, now I never move my stop, or almost never. Like 99% of the trades, I don't move my stop loss.
Okay, so you're basically aiming for a full stop loss or a full target.
Yeah, I'm a set and forget type of guy.
I mean, listen, for most people, that's how you really improve as a trader. If you can set and forget a trade, and I was talking about this yesterday because it's been on my mind. Where when I first started trading, it was very hard for me to hold trades overnight, and I would find myself just awake at night, just staring at my screen, watching the market basically do nothing. Like it would be sideways for a very long time, and I just wasted so much energy just watching the trade. Watching the market tick up, tick down. But there's a reason your stop loss is there, right? It's telling that stop loss basically invalidates your trade. But instead, what most people do is they're manually overriding their trades and cutting their trades at small wins or small losses because they're just too nervous. So I think moving towards that set and forget style, at least for now, to build patience is very important. Because it took me a long time to understand that sometimes the trades take a while to pan out. Let's say if you're taking a 5-minute or a 1-hour setup, let's say you're taking a 15-minute setup. You have to understand how many candles it might take for it to start moving your direction and hit your take profit. So if I take a trade on a 15-minute time frame, I might be sitting in that trade for 2, 3, 4 hours, just because that's however many 15-minute candles I expect for that trade to pan out over time. And even if it doesn't, I might have to sit in that trade even longer. I think a lot of people think that when they enter a trade, it should go straight to their target, like right away. And it tends not to be the case more often than not. So ES we took out all-time highs. I would assume we're gonna have a somewhat of a gap on the open, or not really. We're kind of at the gap right now, so there's not really gonna be an overnight gap. But yeah, having patience in trading, a lot of it comes with your confidence in understanding probabilities and data, right? Because you can have a 40-50% win rate, even 30% win rate if your risk reward is high enough. You just have to get comfortable losing on those trades and holding your winners, right? It's the time old advice where you have to cut your losers short and let your winners run. And a lot of it is, when you have a set and forget style of trading, that's typically what a positive RR does for you. You're cutting your losses at 1R and you're letting your winners run to 2 or 3R.
It's easier that way. If you aim for high RRs, it's nice to even not be behind the charts for after you set the trade.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's difficult to have to keep looking and constantly fight the urge to close. So that's why I usually. Yeah.
So do you still fight that urge? Because I still do.
Yeah,
but I just know
I
that
think it's one of the hardest parts.
My strategy. All right, if I do that consistently, where I'm cutting my trades too early, long term it's not profitable. So you have to understand that you have to let your trades pan out before trying to make any decisions behind the market, and that leads to taking less actions in the market. I tend not to take too many actions in the market. I try not to. Like with you, set and forget, basically you're making one action. You're placing the trade and leaving it alone.
Yeah,
And for
exactly.
me, when I'm in a trade and I'm trying to manage it, I might only make one decision, right? Whether it's to scale in or adjust the stop loss. To me, that's one decision. So a lot of times I'll scale into my winners. But that's really only one decision. I think too many people get caught up with making way too many decisions on each trade. Of course, Euro goes to my target on NFP, and I'm not in it. So that's a bit frustrating for me for sure. But I'm not going to buy it because I'd be chasing price right now.
And yeah, on the indices, there's not too much happening for now. NQ is already printing higher as well.
Yep.
Yeah. For me now, it's a waiting game. It's the same you said. At least the next 10 minutes or so to kind of get a bit of a clear understanding of what's happening, what's going on, and then I might look the way it's currently looking. I might look for a short scalp buy if we get a nice retracement, but definitely not yet.
I'll tend to wait for, I mean, even with the hourly, if the hourly puts in a pretty strong candle, the problem is when we're trading futures firms, you can't hold over the weekend, you can't hold overnight.
Yeah, it's
So like
scalp
if
or
I were to go
nothing.
long right now, my stop loss would be pretty wide. Do a full top down on Euro? I kind of already did that. So the quarterly, I'm very bullish on the quarterly. And this is analysis that might stay in place for years. Like if we're going to trade up to here and maybe fill in a lot of this range, right? You know, even if I draw this high here, you have to think how many quarterly candles might it take to get up to that level? It's going to take a while. It might take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, even a year to get up to this level here. But nothing right now on the Euro is telling me to short it, right? So that analysis, basically, if I drop down to the lower time frames, whether I see bearish candles or not, I'm continuously leaning long because that's the current market environment that we're in. So until something really changes on those higher time frames, like on a quarterly time frame, you know, I'm basically trying to buy every single dip that pops up. And usually when we have these very high impact news, I'm always mindful of my higher time frame candle because we still have 25 minutes to go for this hourly closure, and there's nothing that is going to guarantee that this candle is going to close bullish. Because 24 minutes from now, could punch that high on NQ and roll over. Right. So
yeah, especially
if you didn't
during.
get long on like the news release, then probably a little late now. But let's say if it retraces down into this level here, maybe there's an opportunity to get long.
Yeah, that's what I'll be looking for as well. If we can get something like that, retracement and then quick scalp up again, it's probably
Yeah.
what I'd be looking for. But also wouldn't just buy right now.
Yeah, I think
and
if it goes without me, then probably just
so
not
be
going to
it.
take a trade.
Let's take a look at gold. Yeah, just a big bullish candle. Pretty big one.
Yeah, when the market's doing this, like, all right, if I were to go long, where's my stop going to go?
Yeah.
Basically, this turns into a swing trade, right? Because even if you use the last 5-minute candle, you kind of have to have that wider stop loss because where the move came from is so far away.
Yeah, I also don't like trading immediately after a massive move.
Yeah.
But that is a big move.
But we took out the London session highs. If Euro closes below the 4-hour high, would you consider taking a short? No. Again, I'm only looking for longs right now. But that's because I'm not a counter trend trader. If the higher time frame for me is pushing higher, I don't take any shorts. What I do is when the market's going lower, I just wait. Right? So when this market's trending higher, instead of you taking these shorts where your target is not really clear, because in an uptrend, if you're aiming for liquidity or if you're aiming for specific levels, oftentimes those levels never get hit. It'll get close. You might go up a couple R, but the risk to reward opportunity is with the trend. So yes, there are opportunities to scalp short, but the better risk to reward opportunities and what makes me profitable long term is that I just stay on side with whatever the higher time frame is telling me. Do you trade full contracts on your accounts even if they're 50K?
I trade micros.
Yeah.
It depends on the contract size depends on the stop loss I'm going to use.
Yeah.
And micros give way more flexibility.
Right.
So usually micros. Except for some firms now, they put the cap differently. So I think with funded next to this. No. Is it FundingPips? Okay, I think it was funded next, but I might be mistaken. But they used to, for example, allow 3 minis, but only 15 micros. So
Okay.
usually I even trade minis. I prefer trading 10 minis over 1 micro, except for some firms that have like this different cap.
Yeah.
We are getting a solid retracement.
For me, I'm definitely mindful of how these hourly candles look. Because let's say if the hourly just closes where we are right now, it's gonna look kind of ugly. Because we did take this old high out here.
I see what you mean. It's also pretty hard because the down candle, even on the 1 minute, is just so big. It's still 70 points, so to find like a precise entry in there will be tough. Yeah.
So we're about to get our 15-minute closure. But yeah, the stops would be pretty wide.
Someone asks, when you do props, do you get the trailing stop out of the way before you do withdrawal? I usually do. I usually go for a big first couple days, or I usually try to get the balance up quite a bit before I make my first withdrawal. But plenty of firms also just got that you have to get a certain buffer before you can withdraw. So I think with most firms that's even even necessary. But even the ones where it isn't, I still like to get a nice buffer before I make some withdrawals. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like, because with a lot of future terms, let's say if you just trade it until you're eligible for a payout, when you take that withdrawal, it doesn't really leave you a lot of room to continue trading. So I like to have that buffer as well.
Yeah.
When I made that run with Apex, I had a huge buffer. Like the first couple days, I think my largest day was like $4,500. So for me to, if I took a $2,000 payout across, well, $2,500 payout across all the accounts, it would only leave me with $2,000. But because of the consistency rule, I was forced to trade those accounts until they reached like 16K.
Yeah,
But at that point, when I withdrew $2,500, now I have, $12,500 in every single account, which gave me a lot of room to play with, right? Because I could trade essentially $500 to $1,000 in risk in every single one of those accounts. That really does add up. If you're taking $500 across 20 accounts, it ends up being $10,000 of risk per trade. So I always tell people to try and have a bigger buffer than you normally would, because it allows you to make way more mistakes. Like your room for error is way bigger.
Yeah, but it is two-folded in the sense that I also like to, especially when you're beginning, I also like to withdraw pretty quickly because there are still plenty of reinvesting opportunities. And so if you are able to request, for example, $10,000 and you still have plenty of firms to buy accounts with, then you still have nice investment opportunities. So I think it's kind of striking a balance between those two and between not just blowing your account the first withdrawal, but also acknowledging, because this is something I did. This is one of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning for my prop firm trading career. I left my money in the prop firm accounts for way too long. And then that really came back to bite me with, for example, at 520K, so two scaled up accounts, two 200K scaled up accounts with my Forex funds, and something like 15K in profits that was just slowly working up. But obviously that got taken away. Something similar happened with the funded trader. And I wish I had, even the firms that didn't go bankrupt, I still wished I had taken it out and reinvested it more quickly. So it's pros and cons. But if you have a specific firm or challenge in mind to the person that asked, I can tell you how I trade those accounts and what my preferred buffer is for those type of accounts. Why don't you long US30?
I'm just waiting for the hourly, getting a little close to the hourly candle. But it's also because like we're finding a place to put my stop loss would maybe be a little difficult. I mean, I might think about going long. And maybe putting my stop loss here. 5603. I'm only going to take one mini on the Dow. Does it not, FundingPips not let you trade on the Dow?
I don't know. I don't trade the Dow, but I would think they let you. Hmm.
Let me just check something. Look at my accounts.
It is between the available instruments on their website, so I think it should be good.
Got in a little late, but it's fine.
Do you manage all your accounts through TradingView?
Yeah. So my leader account is on TradingView.
Okay. How do you manage the copy trading?
I use TradeCopia, or I've started using TradeCopia. Basically, just I have all my accounts there, and then I just if they're larger accounts, I will obviously adjust the risk parameters.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a lot to manage because I'm on like 4 different platforms, which is pretty annoying.
Yeah.
So I have to like log into all of them separately.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hassle now, especially. Yeah. Do you still trade CFD firms as well?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough.
Oh, bro.
I'm working with Apex. I was planning on running up 150k accounts to 5k and withdraw 3k. So if you run them up 5k and withdraw 3k, I don't think it's too bad, but then I would consider those accounts pretty much lost. If you only give yourself 2k remaining, it will be pretty hard to make meaningful money on those accounts. But that would give you 21,000 to reinvest. I think you probably can do a lot of damage with that 21,000. So I don't think it's a bad idea, but when you do it, so when you withdraw almost everything, then you, in my opinion, you also have to consider that those accounts are most likely not going to be yours for very long, unless you trade them very, very conservatively.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna share my screen. 1 second.
What should we do if we trade EU and we are still not in a position? Seems USD will keep falling and euro rising, no resistance zone for euro where it's going. All depends on your trading style and your conviction, but if you feel 100% certain it will go up before it goes down, then obviously you should buy. The reason why I'm, for example, waiting for Nasdaq is because I don't really want to buy this high relatively to the 5-minute or even the 1-minute time frame. But if you feel very certain it's going to go up and not going down, then go for it.
I'm really only giving this one attempt here. 6, 8. So we're about to get our hourly close, and I'm anticipating it not coming back down to the last hourly open. We have our 2 hourly candles. Ideally, it just continues higher from here. There's an hourly candle all the way back here that doesn't have a wick. So I'm anticipating this running all the way up here.
What do you usually do when you are waiting?
I don't know, listen to music. Just managing way too many platforms right now. The headache.
Yeah, I feel you. There have been plenty of softwares claiming that they will fix it all, bring it all under one platform.
Yeah, I'm trading a institutional firm in Chicago. They're trading with CQG.
Okay.
So it's not, I don't think any trade copier
Yeah.
out there has CQG, which is unfortunate, but rather annoying. But I can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got really strong closures on NQ, ES, YM. All right, let's catch up. What account size are they giving you? To me, account size doesn't matter. If you can, again, if you can trade a small account, you can trade a big account. It's more so, do you have the proper process and places to trade in the first place? People get too wrapped up in the P&L, and they think they're not making enough money, or they're not learning on a small account. But if you can learn how to trade on a small account, you should have no problem trading on a bigger account. Okay, the numbers are just bigger. You're just still trying to place proper risk to reward, and that's really the name of the game. I gotta adjust this long tool. This is not exactly where I got in. I trade a personal account as well. Yes, it gives you more control. But again, all you have to do with prop firms is understand the rules, because they give you leverage and they give you capital that you would otherwise not have in a personal account. But again, if you're trading these accounts properly, it doesn't really matter how many accounts you're trading, what size the accounts are. For me, I was always trying to just add more and more accounts.
I did the same, and I'm considering to now open a large live account because I never really bothered to. But now, especially with the Apex payouts, I am considering to just open a big one.
Mhm.
But I might also want to do some other stuff with the money to try and start a business or something like that. So that's why I'm not too sure yet.
I've been getting into real estate, which is part of the reason why I was traveling.
Yes, it's interesting. I don't know shit about it, so yeah.
I mean, they say you got to get your feet wet, right? So like if you get into
fair.
one project, right, just try and keep it small, manageable. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Why tight SL? I mean, my SL is not that tight, guys. But if this continues pushing, I might adjust the stop based on the way we're moving. So if we get a nice 5-minute closure here, I'll just cut half my risk off the table.
Is it better to have 4 5K accounts or 2 10Ks?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
It's the same number, right?
yeah.
You just
When
have
you're
to adjust
starting
your position
out,
size accordingly.
when you're starting out, it's probably nicer to have more accounts so you can get more reps in. So you can blow 1, blow 2, and then
All right, so like you
continue
manage them all
learning.
separately, right? So you have
Yeah,
obviously more
yeah,
opportunities. For me, I just manage them all together. So to me, it doesn't really matter, right?
yeah. That's fair.
It honestly all depends on. I mean, here's the thing about trading is trading can be whatever you want to make it. Okay, if you want to be a swing trader and you want your time back and time with your family or time working another job, be a swing trader. If you're trying to be a day trader, be a day trader. But there's so many different ways to skin a cat, and there's so many different ways to manage your accounts. So for me, I manage them all together because it's just easier on my mental. I'm already managing way too many platforms right now. So like you guys didn't hear me talking for like 5 minutes. It's because I'm trying to log into all my platforms, place the trades, and manage them all separately. Which makes it easier for me. But like Mathe is doing, and like I know a lot of other traders, they just like rotating their accounts, because if you take a loss on one account, it's not like impacting all your other accounts, which can be hard to stomach if you're not used to the mental aspect of it. Because for me, when I was taking a loss on 20 Apex accounts and I was down $40,000 in the day, you know, how many people can really stomach that? I mean, I think Math, you mentioned it on stream last week, where if you took a large loss in one account, it didn't really affect your mental because you have all the other accounts that are still have a huge buffer with them, right?
Yeah, that's why I preferred it in that way. Obviously, you do expose yourself then to like trying to trade them all with this higher risk. So, but if you're sensitive to overtrading, it's probably a risky strat. But for me, that worked out well.
Need a high time frame bias? Yeah, I mean, for me, the high time frame bias on index markets and on euro has always been it's been bullish since I started streaming, really, for funding ticks. So none of my analysis has really changed, especially on the euro. Like if I flip over the euro, as long as this market structure stays in place, like, and I don't think I would turn bearish until we like really lost like this level down here, and it would really need to like really turn around. But even then, if I look on the quarterly time frame, that doesn't really mean a whole lot, because a quarterly time frame could just, the next quarter could just retrace down here, and I would still be bullish because I'm targeting all the way up here. And if you guys were following me on Twitter at all, it's basically what I mentioned on $CAD. So if you guys go back through my Twitter post, this was like, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. When was this? 2020? Yeah, 2023. I was calling out these equal highs here. But look how long it took to get there. That doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden just going to start shorting the market. Any retracements, I'm trying to go long, targeting this high. So even if it took 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 months to get there, right? Throughout those 18 months, I barely am taking any short positions. So it's more so about just getting in sync with wherever that higher time frame is going. And if you're going to use low time frames, right, it gives you an opportunity to have tight risk reward. Did I blow multiple accounts at the same time? Yes, when I was first getting started. So I started out with FTMO. And because my income allowed it, I was trying to get funded with multiple accounts. So when I would get funded with multiple accounts, I would end up blowing multiple accounts. Until I realized, like, if I just continue stacking the accounts and not worrying so much about when I'm going to get a payout and how much risk I'm taking, the more accounts you have, essentially you can have less and less risk. So your risk of ruin goes way down. Because if you could trade with, 20, 30 accounts, you don't have to take as much risk to make way more money. Right. So if you're going to take $1,000 in one account, it's much easier to take $100 of risk across 10 accounts, because your risk of ruin across those 10 accounts is way less. Yeah, so I think what you talked about it, if we got a nice closure above that old high, I don't know if you entered a trade or not, because the stop loss placement, like this one candle, right, makes it very difficult to figure out where the stop loss placement is.
Yeah, and it was even on the 1 minute is we barely tapped and then we left. You see, is there one huge move down. We barely tapped it. We moved on. I was looking for either more price action to show me, or a little bit lower. So I'm currently not in a trade.
Yeah, for me, I'm trying to aggressively manage the stop, because I'm on a NFP on Friday. I tend not to give my trades too much of a leash.
That's fair, especially if you take more aggressive entries. That
Yeah.
makes sense that you're also, if you're a little bit quicker to enter, it makes sense you're also a little quicker to play it safe.
Yeah, and it's just I don't feel as comfortable where the stop loss is, just because this candle is so big.
Yeah, these are difficult to trade in my opinion.
Dixie does not say otherwise for me. If I look at the quarterly time frame, right, there's nothing that's bullish about this chart right now. So for me, right, this is a nice reversal. This is really just a consolidation phase, and then you can see that we punched above the consolidation and dropped. So this here I'm looking at as a market structure shift on the closure of last quarter's candle. So this here is just a retracement. But if it's going to trade down towards these lows, I don't know how long it's going to take to get down there. It might take a whole year to get down there, right? Because each one of these candles is 3 months. So the next 3 months might push us lower. And then the following 3 months, we might get another retracement. And then we might get another push lower. And the following 3 months after that. But ideally, this is the market structure that I'm looking at. Dollar looks pretty bearish. So again, I'm just trying to position myself, get in sync with whatever the higher time frames tell me. And then once I'm in those positions, though, it really is just a waiting game, and it's a risk management game. So like right now, even if it comes all the way back on me, I'll take a half-hour stop on the day and then just call it. My trading view screen is really small. I think it's big enough.
Do you think stacking 50Ks is better or 150Ks? It's the same.
No, you definitely have to look at the drawdown to take profit, because I think 50Ks, they give you very similar drawdowns, but the profit targets are way smaller.
Yeah, depends on obviously the firm you're talking about. Presumably Apex 50Ks, 150Ks. But on Top Step, for example, I think the 150Ks are a little bit better because the activation fee is always $150.
Yeah.
But I don't think Top Step is that great anymore. Do you trade Top Step?
Yeah. I try and trade every firm that's out there. At least every
Yeah,
firm
that's
that's
fair.
somewhat reputable. You know, because
Yeah.
let's say a round of accounts is $1,000. You know, I'm okay taking that risk, even if they never paid me out. It's
Yeah,
for me, I'm more in it for like the research side of things, to like see how these firms are actually operating than the money. But definitely Apex has the highest potential upside because of the zero, payout caps, stuff like that.
yeah. And now, especially with the FundingPips Pro Plus, in my opinion, is a great beginner's account. The FundingX Futures Rapid is a great cash flow account. Now there's a lot of firms all of a sudden in the future space.
I don't know if you know Kimmel. Kimmel's in here. Don't target up there, sir. Need to pay my team. Maybe Kimmel's short right now. What is my view on ETH? Do you trade crypto at all, Math?
I did create, so yeah, it might be interesting for people in the chat because it didn't make enough money for me, but it might be interesting. So I did use, without getting too technical, some like basic machine learning stuff to analyze when certain influencers post about a coin. For example, Alex Becker is a great one because he posts YouTube videos every now and then. And I made something that tracked which coins he mentions. Then I backtested across all his data, looked at the market cap, and how much largest coin it is, and then based on that, it traded the coins he mentioned, which should be profitable. So, I think it went in immediately after he mentioned them when they met certain criteria, and then closed within 2 days or something like that. and I actually did make decent money, but it wasn't that scalable because when he posts, the depth goes way down, so he couldn't take too big of a position. But that's pretty much the only crypto trading I've done in a long time, and it was pretty much just me trying to learn machine learning. But I like to learn hands-on and with things that kind of interest me, and so that's what I did there. And so for the people in the chat, that bot actually did make something like 15,000 a month, 15. So I kind of stopped doing it because it wasn't worth it, the time for me. But to you guys, it might be worth looking into if some of you are very technical machine learning guys.
I know people have done similar things with like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
They basically just track what she's doing, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I'm not a political guy, but that's crazy that they can just do that.
Yeah, they're just under the assumption that she has some type of insider information.
Yeah, or she's the best trader alive. But
Yeah, maybe.
she,
I don't know.
yeah, and she does it part-time. That's quite the accomplishment.
It's impressive, right?
Yeah. What's your opinion of Ryan Prop? Have you tried them out?
No.
Me neither.
Oh, Rain. Yeah. So I did, but the problem is when I started trading with them more and more, they said that if I made it to the further stages, that they wanted exclusivity rights, so I wouldn't be able to trade with the prop firm in Chicago. So, you know, I think I had to weigh out the opportunity costs, and for me, the prop firm in Chicago definitely, at least for me, has more upside, at least from what I could see, because Rain, I can't really tell like how much capital they have behind them. And I was referenced to the Chicago firm by somebody I know. So yeah, it's Dante's affiliate. I'm not sure if he's like an owner or part owner, but I know he's working with them. So
in my opinion, that's also been one of the main issues with these kind of a-book firms, and because even some prop firms, they come out with like their plan to put you on live. But when I've gotten a couple of those offers, but usually the terms are just so bad when they come from like regular prop firms, and you get like I was offered a 10K account, for example. It's
not really,
just not, yeah.
it's not really great.
And yeah, and then they also asked me to not trade with any other firms. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So for me, the biggest thing is even if they start you out on a small live account, you should know at least if they have the capital to scale you up. It's like, all right, what are the milestones that I need to hit in order to get to that, multi 7-figure level? Because the splits, they need to make sense, right? So like a lot of institutional splits are like 20 to 30%, maybe up to 50% the trader gets to keep. So like in the retail prop space, it's like unheard of, and on the institutional side, to make 80% of whatever you keep, whatever your profits are. It's like unheard of to get an 80% split as a trader, at least on the institutional side. So if you can find a firm that is offering decent splits, 20, 30 to 40% probably on the higher end, up to 50%, that's a good firm to be with, especially if they can scale your book to multi 7 figures. Okay, so if you're a trader that can find a firm, obviously you need to have a proper track record. And not only that, but you need to have somewhat of a reference, because finding these firms is not easy, and getting into them is another thing, right? They're not just picking up anybody off the street. But if they have the ability to scale your capital to like $10 million, right? Let's say you make $2 to $3 million a year, which is 20 or 30%. You get to keep at least 30 to 40% of that, right? So then you're talking, upwards of $1 million a year in profit split.
Yeah, I recently got approached by a decent looking firm, So I'm also getting on board there right now. So maybe later on some next sessions can talk about that a bit more. But for now, it's all in the workings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the institutional side is interesting because I thought, I think the gap. What most people don't realize is the gap between institutional traders and retail traders isn't as big as what people think. Unless they have like a quant team behind you, retail traders, they still, you guys are somewhat on an even playing field. The only difference is like the capital and maybe some additional resources and support. But the main thing is that you're focusing on your trading skills first and foremost, because then at that point it's just a game of scaling. And once you get past a certain point, right, you might have issues with liquidity. You might not get proper fills, especially when you're trading very large contract sizes. Like if you're trying to put 50 to 100 lots on NQ, you might have an issue getting filled all at the same price. So we're coming up on the open here, but you guys can see that I've already cut my risk in half. So even if it does come back on me, it's not like I'm taking a full loss on the day. I get anxiety while I'm in the building up of the buffer phase on my PA accounts because I don't know if something is going to happen to the firm. So these are all external things where it's more of a game of psychological warfare with yourself, because at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter, right? Like whether the firm closes down and pays you out or not is affecting your trading. So you have to focus on trading itself. Don't worry about, pretend like you're not even trading a prop firm. That's the way that I like to look at it. It's just you're trying to make proper trades and you're trying to have proper risk management, regardless of if you're on a personal or on a prop, regardless of whatever your account size is. Because if you're planning a 1 to 2R trade, does it really matter if you're trading on X prop firm or Y prop firm? Or does it really matter if you're taking 1 micro or 1 mini? You're still trying to frame the same trade and you're still trying to have the same habits.
And in
Right,
my
so for
opinion,
me, yeah, if I cut my risk in half, I don't really care what the prop firm is going to do. Right. I just know that that action that I just took is protecting my downside.
what helped me a lot with those kind of things is also to just, the same as I do in trading, to just decide before you buy an account, this is what I'll aim for with this account, and then just go for that, so that you don't have to worry about how you are going to trade the account once you bought the account. In my opinion, it's better to kind of figure that out before you buy the account, and then once you get the account, you can, like Kyle said, just solely focus on trading and not have to think about all the other things. In my opinion, those should be taken care of in advance.
Somebody was asking, what is the reason behind blown accounts? For me, the reasoning behind every blown account is you didn't follow your rules and you didn't protect the downside well enough. So a lot of times it's oversizing or overtrading, breaking all your rules, and not knowing how to protect the downside. So even if you go through a losing streak, you should try and work on the skill set of getting that equity curve to get as flat as possible. So what happens is a lot of traders, when they go through a rough period and their equity curve starts pointing downwards, what tend to happen is they tend to tilt. So instead of flatlining the equity curve and maybe taking smaller trades and managing that drawdown, they tend to oversize, they tend to make mistakes, and then their equity curve just gets steeper and steeper towards the downside. So the biggest thing is that you're focused on, all right, if I'm going through a rough patch right now, which all of us do, all of us go through rough patches, is how do I get myself to stop the bleeding? Okay, let's say your drawdown stop out is at this specific level. There is a way for you to get that drawdown to stop bleeding, right? But what most people do is they treat that like a casino and they try and size up on their next trade. Maybe they feel way too confident in it. Maybe they're over trading. Maybe they get married to their bias and they assume that they have to be right about a specific market and they can't take a loss. Those are all factors that are leading up into a blown account. Okay, so you have that stop out limit on your account, and the mental game gets to you, which is why I think a lot of people talk about it, but for me, the psychological aspect of trading is much harder to master than any system because it comes with experience. You can teach somebody a technical system. Math and I can go out and teach you our system and strategy, but nothing is going to replace how you feel when you put the risk on. Right? So if that trade starts moving against you, what do you do? Like, what are the mistakes that you're making? Mental lapses or, just not having the confidence to hold the trade? Nobody can replace that for you. And that's why I think back testing has its place, but nothing really replaces live market.
And everyone has different emotional reactions. Some people feel fear and they struggle mostly from fear. Some people are more sensitive to greed. Other people are more insecure. It makes it even harder to give some general advice, or that makes it even harder for YouTube videos kind of to solve the issue, because everyone has its own mix of fear, greed, and all these other kind of emotions. And when they are released, and there is no one that has exactly the same mix, exactly the same psychology as you. So it's very hard to give best practices, because even when we compare how JadeCap and I did the Apex runs, we both did Apex runs. Obviously his was way bigger, but just to kind of compare, we both did them completely differently when it comes to psychology. We both had completely different struggles, so I'm sure those manifested differently as well. It's so hard to give like a one size fits all psychology tip.
Yeah.
How to dominate trading with the right routine. Routines did help me a lot, but mostly when I was trying to get my reps and when I was learning a lot. Now not so much anymore. So I used to be very strict, but now not so much anymore. In my opinion, that's more so for the learning phase. Then it helped me the most.
We got the open soon, and this hourly is turning around on me, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to leave the stop where it is. That's kind of exactly what I was talking about with like the mental aspect of it. Like, how many of you guys are like having a heart attack when it's retracing on you? It's not something that I can really. I can't transfer that knowledge, or I can't transfer that mental fortitude when markets are going against your idea, and you having the confidence to just leave the trade alone, right? It's very, very hard to transfer. I don't think you can transfer. What I can do is just walk you through how I think, but nothing is going to replace you sitting through those trades, seeing it come all the way back to your stop loss very quickly, and just sitting still and doing nothing, right? I think majority of people would probably do better if they just didn't do anything, right? Set and forget like Mathe does, because it will teach you patience, and it'll teach you, right, when this trade, if this trade does pan out, it'll teach you that at the end of the day, you have zero control over where the market is going to go. What's the importance of the midnight opening price? Well, essentially, what I'm looking for is a manipulation below that opening price. So, majority of bullish candles start out bearish. Okay, so that midnight opening price for me, it allows me to position myself inside of a wick. So, if I think a market's going to go higher, as the market's trading lower, that's where I'm trying to position myself. Because again, it sounds so stupid when you hear people say this. They're like, buy low, sell high. That's essentially what you're trying to do inside of that one daily candle. A heart attack fades away over time. For me, it doesn't really, because as you level up with trading, your size gets bigger, right? So even if I feel comfortable at one specific size, usually when I try and size up, those same feelings come up and I still have to fight them. So if you go from trading 1 mini to now trading 5 minis, right, the P&L is way different. And it also changes like the way that you're trying to manage it from a mental aspect. So we got that run above the high. I might just close it here. Let's see. Oops. Oh man, on here.
I might actually look for my small scalp on Nasdaq from here.
Oh my god, I'm trying to go flat on my options here. Yeah, it's kind of annoying trying to manage this on all these different platforms.
Futures better than Forex, question mark. If I could only trade one, then I would definitely prefer the futures firms. I think they are way more scalable. So far, there's been less scams.
I think for me personally too, I feel like the futures markets, the volatility does come in this one specific window, whereas Forex is more gradual. So it's more of like a 24/5 thing where you're trying to trade throughout the throughout the trading week, and you essentially have to manage your positions overnight. So yeah, for me, I think futures, because the spreads are so much tighter, and the data is actually centralized, that it makes the risk to reward, in my opinion, a lot greater. But yeah, that's just my perspective. Just from my data, I've gotten much better risk reward trades out of the futures market than I have out of Forex. Like a 3-to-1 on FX takes a while for it to pan out.
Yeah.
Why did I trade YM and not NQ? Just because I think YM was in a spot that I really wanted to go long, whereas NQ kind of already ran above those highs. So from a daily perspective, I think it just had more room to run because NQ, we already were approaching these highs here. Now, I still think this market is going to continue running higher, but basically done for the day. And what I do is take a screenshot of the trade, put it in my journal. And then just analyze it at the end of the day. So kind of what I realized over time too is that these markets, there's almost an opportunity every single day for you to at least study. Maybe not trade, but there's an opportunity for you to learn and study almost every single day. So once that trade is done and in the books, I try to just log off, because if I sit in front of the screens, let's say if I sit in front of the screens and try to go back into the market, I'm exposing myself to giving back what I just earned. I don't think I'm going to stay on here too much longer, Math.
Yeah.
Do we want to maybe answer some more questions in here real quick?
They are curious to how you journal, but that's maybe a little bit.
For me, journaling, I tend to, now that I understand what I'm looking for in the markets, I tend not to look at the technical aspect of journaling so much, but I tend to journal like my emotions. Did I follow my plan? Like those are the biggest things. Did I follow my plan? And did I keep my emotions in check? And then as far as trade management, did I make the right move? I think I made the right move by cutting my risk in half ahead of the open, right? That to me is a good action to take. Closing my trade above some old highs, that to me is another good action. And then, did I maintain a calm demeanor as this market was trading against me, right? Because you guys all saw on the open, this thing pretty much dumped against me right back to my entry, and then it shot off again. But having the patience and the diligence to just not do anything, those are all good actions to take, in my opinion. And let's say if you break your rules, journal that, right? Journal how you felt when you broke your rules, right? Did you feel anxious or overconfident when you revenge traded or over leveraged? Like those are all very important things to journal, much more so than market price action, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're also just getting at two different things, right? You have the back testing, which is kind of testing your plan, testing the technicals, and then you have the journaling, which I also think is mostly like the mental side of things and how you were able to manage yourself, how you felt, how you interacted with those feelings. How do you keep the mental fortitude with being content with one trade ID or two, coming from someone who overtrades a lot? I actually never had an overtrading issue, so I don't really know how to fix that.
You never had it ever? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I was more on the other side of things. I
Okay.
didn't dare to press the button even when I should have. That was my kind of issue.
For me, it's just always understanding that there's always another opportunity. Like tomorrow or Monday is going to present another opportunity. The next day is going to present another opportunity. It's you have to eliminate the FOMO aspect of trading, because no matter how much euro ran without me, it's going to set up another trade at some point. Okay, whether we get a nice closure above here, next week I'm looking for the same thing. So if this week closes bullish, next week I'm looking for the same thing. I'm looking for Monday or Tuesday to trade lower so I can position myself long, because I'm expecting us to get out of this consolidation at some point. And when we get out of this consolidation, if it's going to run, it should just continue. It should expand higher pretty quickly, because we've been in that extended period of consolidation. But I still have to manage my risk. That doesn't mean I just go all out and just position extremely heavily going long. Right? If you go through your data, these markets are always moving, and there's always going to be opportunity. If the opportunity stops, then we have bigger problems to worry about than just money. Right? Because back here, basically going through the same scenario where a market might be sideways for an extended period of time. This is like 2 months, maybe 3 months. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 4 months of just sideways price action. And then you have to either find a new market to trade, or you have to be very nimble, because it's not making those runs. But then when it starts breaking out, that's usually where I make all of those losses back. So let's say if I took a couple losses, break even, a couple wins, very small wins, it's just about finding the opportunity where I can position myself long here to make back all of this lost time in here. And that's kind of why I have a basket of markets, is because I'm trying to find the best market to trade. I'm not trading just one market. I'm trying to find the opportunity in just the best looking markets from a higher time frame perspective. But I'm gonna hop out of here in like 2 minutes, Math. I don't know if you're gonna stay on.
No, it's same for me.
It was just a very quick NFP trade on a Friday. Unfortunately, I didn't get out near the top. I think I exited 4795.
That's still pretty close to it.
I think like a 2R. Yeah, 1.8. Nothing crazy, but also when I think about the risk that I took, right? 1R, adjusted stop loss to half, I was comfortable with that. So definitely happy with the performance today. Just very quick. It's not even a whole lot of size. It's just one mini on YM. But then when I really feel confident about specific trades and it doesn't run this fast, I'll scale into trades. So like maybe I'll move my stop loss to break even. And if this was earlier in the week, I might think about adding to this position, because now my initial stop loss is at break even. And if I can add a position, let's say if I go long here and now put my stop loss where my initial entry was, let's say if my target's a lot higher too, by the way. Now I have 2 positions on that are running. And if it goes to take profit, I make way more than just 2R. All right, Math, it was a pleasure chatting with you again. This is a good stream. At least running through our thought processes.
Yeah.
And yeah, see you guys next week.
See you. Bye.
All right, later.